and welcome to another edition of the PSVR Chat Show. I'm your host, Jason, otherwise known as the Handi-Man Can VR or the Livonator, and today we're here talking with Jonathan Hawkins, the founder and president of White Elk Studios, about Covert, which originally came out for the Oculus Go in 2018 and was nominated for the Best VR game in the IMGA Awards and released for Oculus Rift and PSVR on March 10th. And thank you for joining us, Jonathan.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And thanks for giving us your time on the weekend here. Really appreciate that. And I just want to take the time now to introduce you to some of the people here that are joining us today for the show. And today, for the YouTubers, we have joining us, we have Just Incredible VR, we have ThatGuyIsWillVR, or aka Will or Justin there, and we have CreeperBettyPSVR, otherwise known as Betty.
Yep.
And then,
Call me Betty.
I'd like to thank also the artists that were helping out to work on the show as well. We do have some of them that are not here with us today at the moment, and that unfortunately they couldn't have joined. But today we have the couches here. We have Noctauto, Velp, and also for artwork we have Justin, myself, Dorkie the Akward, and Clarity, and both of those two couldn't be here today, unfortunately, with us. So, Jonathan, let's get to know you a little better today. I see you graduated from USC, worked at Sony Santa Monica for a while doing level design for God of War, set up the Game Dev Drink Up, helped foster developers as well at the Game Developers Foundation, which I think is awesome that you did that. I really appreciate you helping people out like that. I love this. I love the socializing aspect of what you set up there with the Game Dev Drink Up and everything else there and helping the devs. That's just a beautiful thing to see.
Thank you.
After this, you then made Eclipse as well, which was showcased as a PSVR demo with the PlayStation Experience in 2015, released on Daydream in 2017, and was brought to PSVR in January of 2020, which was a magical adventure through a strange and foreboding world. I really personally enjoyed learning about the history of the people and exploring the world there. To me, that was really neat. Really, really beautifully done. I appreciate your work there.
Thank you.
And would it be all right if I asked you to elaborate on some of what I just taught, or any of those experiences, just so the people that are watching get to know you a little better?
Yeah, sure. I got my start in 2003 working as an intern on God of War 1. And then worked there for a long time. On God of War 1, God of War 2, God of War 3. And then another project that didn't make it. And then after that, I was trying to figure out kind of like what to do next, and VR was just starting to kind of come back, and I got my hands on the Oculus One and just, fell in love with it. From like a developer standpoint, like I love making games because I can like make worlds, right? Like Doom showed me that, like, you can make a whole world, a virtual world that you can be inside of. And I think there's just such an amazing thing between that and then actually being in VR. And like, look at the world that you guys built from our game. It's like incredible.
Absolutely.
So that's what I love about video games, and what I love about VR is building worlds. And with Covert, it's very much of like not just building worlds, but building like an interesting social situation or a social kind of like development between two different people, like one in VR and one outside of VR. And it was just definitely kind of an interesting game and a challenge to make.
Well, it's beautifully done. I mean, it was sharing with a buddy, and the fact that you made it accessible to everybody out there to play wherever they're at. And we'll get into that a little more when we ask some of the questions here. I don't want to spill all the beans there. Got to give these guys a chance to ask the questions that they have here for you. But yeah, I mean, it's a great start. And like I said, the work that you've done so far in VR is just, I've loved it all.
Thanks. We did Eclipse. We did Eclipse in 2017, and that came out like you said, on Daydream, and it's available on the Oculus Go, Gear VR, PSVR, Steam. We even ported over to the Switch. And then yeah, it's been interesting to see how people enjoyed that game. It's very, very different than Covert. It's much more like, you know, being isolated and being like alone and kind of like yourself, like exploring this weird, you know, alien planet. So I'm happy to hear that you enjoyed that as well.
Oh, yeah. How was the reception when you guys got a chance to show it off in 2015? Were people really excited about it back then?
Yeah, I mean, it was I built like the demo, what was it, like in 3 months or so. It was like the area where the moon comes in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yes.
And then yeah, then we showed it off at like VRLA #2. And like in the beginning there was like no one in line, like no one, you know, heard of my company because it was just brand new. And then by the end of the day there was like a 3-hour wait. So that was like awesome to see that like people were like so into the demo and loved like what we were doing. So VRLA was like super helpful for me to like believing in the project and you know, doing my best to kind of keep going and finding ways that I could get funding for that.
That's awesome. I was hoping to hear an answer like that when I asked you the question, honestly, but that's awesome. Yeah, because some people are kind of afraid, like even when we started doing this, to put the headset on. They didn't know what it was all about, but getting to experience even back then on the original Oculus headsets and stuff, where you didn't even have like the 6 degrees of freedom like you have now.
Yeah, like
I said, you did some amazing stuff there.
Yeah, the Eclipse demo was on like the DK2.
Oh,
so
wow.
it's like, oh my God, you have head tracking. That's amazing.
Yeah. Wow, that's it. Yeah, that is amazing. But wow, that's awesome. I mean, you took your knowledge there and you applied it and you made some really neat stuff. And that's just. Sorry, I don't want to praise too much, but like I said, I have a lot of respect for people that think out of the box and differently like that, and I appreciate what you do there. And we'll turn it over here because a few of these guys here have some questions for you. Just want to make sure we get those covered. And it looks like first up we have Justin.
Oh, yeah. So I see you brought some of the former members from God of War, from the old God of War team, along with you to your company over at White Elk. And who are some of these people, if you don't mind, you know, kind of getting into some detail there? And how did their skills apply to the things that you guys were working on over at White Elk, you know, doing the new stuff with virtual reality? And did everybody become accustomed to it? What was the experience like?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different going from a, you know, 150, 200 person team down to like, you know, 5, right? Our team was, you know, pretty small on Eclipse. We used like a lot of different contractors, but also on Covert, it was pretty small. So yeah, it was a big kind of like transition, and there's like a lot of my friends on the God of War team, like Matt Arrington, Samuel Charit, who's Matt Arrington was our lead programmer. Samuel Charit is our art director. Mario Livon was their sound director. And so, you know, these guys had worked on major titles, you know, Insomniac or Battlefield, God of War, obviously, Metal Gear. And then, yeah, I think, you know, VR is so new and so interesting that it's a lot of fun to kind of like explore the unknown, where there's like a lot of rules and kind of like ways that certain, you know, games are built like for AAA. And then after, you know, years of doing it, just kind of gets a little old, right? And so it's just kind of, you know, fun to experiment inside of VR and push the boundaries. And, you know, like with Covert or, you know, even Eclipse, like back in the day, they're like, you know, you can't even like walk in VR. Like, you know, everything needs to just be static and all that. So it was fun to be able to kind of like push that rule set and, you know, add a jetpack and be able to have full locomotion, even on like on the 3DOF controller. So with that Covert, you know, there's a lot of innovation I felt like we were able to do with finding out ways that we can make VR more social and almost kind of creating like a new genre, right? Where you have like kind of like two different people socializing and interacting through like actual interactive like content. So yeah, it was you know, definitely a challenge for sure of kind of learning how to scale back and learning how to use new engines and technologies. But all the guys that have come and and built the games at White Elk have all, really, I think enjoyed their time and like the medium that VR is.
And next up, we have Betty has a question for you here.
What's up?
Hello. What's up? So I've had a lot of fun playing this. It was a blast. I did it on my phone. I played that portion of it. But what I was curious about, I mean, you've done God of War and Eclipse, but this one's totally different. What inspired the Mission Impossible or spy aspect of the game? I mean, I loved all the varieties of missions you put in the game. It was fun to sneak up by people, it was fun to sneak up to people or, behind people, that kind of thing,
Right.
and avoiding them. But my favorite, avoiding them actually through, So,
Yeah.
so what made you do the Mission Impossible, the spy aspect of it?
Well, yeah, I guess like the whole idea was the problem. It was like more of like a problem of like I wanted to try to solve in VR was like I noticed that like when people played Eclipse, it's so like solitary and it's like very much designed to be like you're by yourself in this weird world. That I wanted to see if we could kind of like flip the script and do like a 180 and find a way to like actually include people in VR. So I was playing like with my wife, or having her play test like Eclipse. And, I couldn't see what the hell she was doing, or, she's like, oh, I'm stuck here. Like, I don't know what to do. And I just kept thinking, like, I really wish there was something, like, way I could, like, interact. I could, like, help her out, or we could work together. And then, so that was kind of like the whole genesis, I guess, of, like, Covert was a game I could build with, like, my wife that we could play together. And, one person being in VR or one person on the phone or the tablet and be able to, like, kind of, like, mix and match and try it multiple times, from like completely different perspectives. And then probably like my biggest inspiration was like True Lies. I like that movie. With like Arnold and like Tom Arnold and
Yes.
yeah. So
Danny DeVito.
yeah, like how one guy's in the van like hacking away, and then Arnold's like out dancing and doing all the spy stuff. So I thought that would be kind of like an interesting like setting for like having like that kind of dichotomy of the different roles and the way that we could kind of like put together like the tropiness that everyone can understand. Like everyone's seen Mission Impossible and all those kind of movies, right? So everyone kind of knows what to kind of expect. And so it's not like we're trying to innovate in the world, like I guess kind of like what we were trying to do with Eclipse, but more of like create a comfortable social scenario and that people kind of know like the assumed roles from the start, and so that like everyone can kind of like easily get into place as they're like trying to assume these different roles as they're playing.
I loved it. And whose idea was it for the horn?
Oh, that was mine. Yeah, like I made the guys were like, don't put that in, stupid. I was like, no, trust me, like it's so funny.
I freaking loved it because Justin and I was playing, and I'm like, oh my god, it has a freaking horn. I'm like, beep, hop on, let's go. Beep.
Yeah. I wish we got like more little trolly stuff like that. I think that was fun. Just like it's just stupid, just stupid fun.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah, I think I got knocked. I think I got knocked, killed a couple times too.
Yeah, in my head, I was driving a forklift, right? So yeah, I need to be beat. Yeah. It was great.
That's awesome.
Times. Yes, add more stuff like that. Don't listen to other people when they tell you. They
did it, but yeah, that's like some of the fun little stuff, or like when you die, it's like you just got fried.
Yeah, the singing. Yeah, you fell. That was great. Yeah, I love humor like that. I appreciate it.
Songs,
man.
yeah.
That was like an idea from our composer Andrew, and he found like this like jazz singer from like East LA. Came over and did all those like sultry kind of lines.
Fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is really cool. So it wasn't just like some snippet from someplace. That's awesome.
Yeah, like all the audio, all the music is all recorded. We hired like voice actors, and
None of them are your wife.
Yeah, like, No. Like one of my friends actually is the guard.
Oh, okay.
'Cause we were like ran out of time, so we just had like one weekend where we all came in the studio and just recorded a bunch of funny lines and drank beer. So it was fun.
Oh, that's fun.
It does sound like a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to hear the emotional attachments to those lines. You know, you just think, what, did somebody just do a job? But no, that was for fun.
Yeah, like so he's like, my eyes, like when you can like blind them.
Yeah.
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 That was probably like 10 beers deep.
Yeah, my favorite is when they get distracted by the TV. They're like, huh? Huh?
Yeah,
What was that? They start walking
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was good times. I still got to play more, but that was definitely we had some great times in there. I mean, I was on the phone the first time with them, and I honestly didn't think. I was like, oh, this will be interesting. You know what I mean? This will be interesting on the phone, but it was awesome. Like you said, it was literally like playing a Mission Impossible together.
Yeah.
I had a smile on my face the whole time playing with him. I just kept saying all the time, like, this is great. This is great. I just hope more people get to experience that, because I know a lot of people were afraid because of the 2-player aspect of it there. But to be honest with you, there's no reason to.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, it's like, oh, some people say like, oh, I can't play by myself, but that's like not the point at all. Like, the point is to like be able to share VR and kind of have like something new and unique. So it was, we just took a lot of risks with that kind of like idea, and I'm really happy to hear that people are having so much fun playing. And I've gotten like emails from people saying like, oh, I played with my little daughter, and it was awesome to see like us like interacting like this. It's like something completely unique, and yeah, it just warms my heart when I hear that kind of stuff.
True statement, especially now at this time, when we're all cooped up in the house.
Yeah, like I think it's a good way to like just interact in I don't know, like in the you're in the world and then there's someone there helping you. It's kind of like an interesting feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many people say that VR is just isolating, but you got games like Covert that completely change that and flip that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the games like Rec Room, this is like awesome that we're all here and you guys built all this stuff. It's crazy.
Yep.
Well, that's why we love it too. I mean, it's we can all get together here, and like you said, it's a perfect time to socialize, especially right now. Especially right now while we're all at home. So, yeah. There's no 6-foot distance in here. You can walk up and give you a high five. You know what I mean?
Right.
We get a little feeling of normalcy in here. I appreciate it. I don't want to go too far into that, but I know Will has a question he wants to ask you there as well. So let's handle it.
I'd just like to say I love both Eclipse and Covert, and I loved how, without giving away any spoilers, I loved how one of the gadgets from Eclipse transferred over to Covert. So like some of my skills had transferred over, and I had an advantage. So that was awesome.
Oh yeah, no, it was. Did you also catch like the artifact was like the thing that you're gonna steal in the museum?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, it was funny. We were trying to like kind of transfer some of the mix the worlds together, I guess, if you will. But then like it's also saved us some time to reprogram some of the same mechanics.
Cheater.
I appreciate the honesty.
Well, I think it worked.
Nothing wrong with
If it works, don't fix it.
Guilty of it too.
Yeah.
Ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah.
Anyways, my question is, so how many levels or hours of gameplay can people expect from Covert, and is it different from the prior Oculus Go version?
So I'd say probably like our average play test time was like around 6 hours or so. So that's just like from playing inside the VR side. The game is like basically we built like 2 games in one. And the companion app's free, right? And so you can also kind of get like a completely different experience on the companion app. And then maybe 12 hours if you want to go through all that. Obviously you can speed run it and go quickly through and shorten the time. And then we really didn't change too much from the Oculus Go version. We added the move support and touch support on the Rift. And we really, wish we had more time and money to fix like the button presses and things like that. I know it's like really janky and not, what VR is, but it's just kind of like the risk reward of like spending months to like refactor the system, but it's been a nightmare and like more QA. Like this game was already like really hard to build. So doing QA on it's like really tough. And yeah, so like some of those things I wish we could have fixed for the other versions, but being indie, you don't have all the resources in the world. So I'm just happy we even got it out, and then more people get to experience rather than just being on the on the Oculus Go and the Gear VR.
Yeah, and I love the. I just felt like playing the VR version and the mobile app felt like two completely different games. So like even if you were replaying a level you already played in like VR, going over to the mobile app felt like a completely different experience and just gave it a new lens.
Yep, total
awesome.
difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was
Like two games
like,
in one.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like it was like basically when we were building it was like we had two games on like each monitor, right? We had one version of Unity running the companion app side and then one version running the mobile side. So just imagine like constantly taking your headset off, clicking a button and putting it back on. It was like just a nightmare to work on. So like yeah, I mean it was like just such a like, kind of interesting challenge of just even trying to like script something or develop like a puzzle or scenario or hey, can you come over and play this with me? So it was like a lot of kind of like challenges in terms of the development there.
I wonder if you can you're smart. If you could develop something to hook to the ceiling to bring that mat, to bring your visor down, right? So you could just put your head in it like a and then go back to your keyboard and then back to the microscope. You should think about that.
Yeah, I wish it was like almost like a welding, like a welder's mask where you could kind of like flip it up and like flip it down.
Yeah. Or something like that, or like a microscope one, Yeah,
it'd be nice to like have that kind of like mobility, especially when you're deving, because you're sitting there like constantly like looking through your nose or lifting it up a little bit.
Wear and tear on your gear too.
Yeah. So it's I don't know, but that's the joys of VR, right?
Yeah, I just didn't realize those challenges. I'm sorry that just like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that's a pain in the butt,
Yeah, like, cause I mean, like we were basically playing the game out of like, down our nose at one screen, like clicking as the companion app on the PC, and then for the VR side, you're all inside of there, and so we try to build some tools and shortcuts. I was thinking about even trying to build like a foot pad thing. I could click a button. Just for the companion app side. So, but yeah, I'm glad. Like in the end, Matt, our programmer, did a lot of awesome work on that stuff, and got it working. And like I said, we used Unity for the development of it, and UNet for all the programming, and got all that working. So, I was like, just shocked that it even came out.
Well, again, we're glad it did.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so earlier you'd mentioned the QA process. So when porting the game to the PlayStation, especially compared to the PC or the Rift, were there any difficulties or anything that got in the way, any hurdles, anything you could touch on that?
Sure. So, each platform has their own guidelines and methodologies or SDKs that you need to like integrate into your game engine to port it over. And they're all felt like different challenges. I think Sony's a little bit more stringent on certain types of things. They have like certain guidelines, like if you remove the controller, it's got to throw up this like error and things like that, right? But it's all just to make sure it's like mass market and like mainstream, that a lot of people can like not run into problems. So but once you kind of get that stuff working, for the most part, trying to find like good controls on the move, I think is a little tough without having like joysticks. So I think there are some challenges there. So I'd like to see that kind of like improved if they do the move too. Because I really like like the Oculus controllers and the Quest controllers. I think those do like a really good job of feeling good and ergonomic in your hand and being able to like account for movement in a lot of different types of interactions. So yeah, I think that was probably like the main thing, and then just going through another QA cycle and someone finding a new bug that was probably always there, and you have to fix it. So those are kind of like the joys of porting. And the team, is just like, oh god, we got to keep working on ports. So, but I think I like it. They should feel good. Like a lot more people get to try it now, and all our hard work that we did on the go is now available to all these other headsets and other players. So yeah, it just depends. Yeah, I think Unity does a really good job in terms of allowing you to quickly port to different types of platforms. But again, yeah, like they all have their own kind of like guidelines and challenges.
Yeah.
I can imagine. Got to be tough.
Yeah, especially with Sony, but like you said, they do it for polish. It makes it just gives it that extra edge when it comes out.
Yeah. I mean, like Steam is like a free for all, right? Where Sony is much more of like and what the Quest is like more of a walled garden. But I think it's important and valuable to have that, especially for like VR. Is like you don't want to have like like crazy apps that are just going to get people sick right away. You want people to be able to think they bought something that's cool and valuable and not have a bunch of like trash on there that's going to make people turn completely away from VR. So I think it's important to have some of those kind of like restrictions and guidelines on a medium that's so new. And maybe but still you can try it on the Rift, or you can try all sorts of crazy stuff on Steam. So I don't know. There's two different approaches, but I think it's valuable for consumer products like that.
Okay, this one's off topic from what Justin said, but I was curious because in the beginning you mentioned that, you played with your wife with Covert and whatnot. I'm curious, what's her part? I mean, is she a gamer like you? Does she like VR? What type of VR does I know, maybe we should interview her, but is she your Q&A person? I'm curious what her part is in this. It sounds like she's really very supportive. I was curious.
Yeah, I mean, she deals with all my madness and my crazy hours and working so hard. Yeah, she isn't like a huge gamer. She used to play like a lot of like DS stuff, like Zelda and
Nice.
or like we played like Little Big Planet like years ago. So she likes kind of like simple kind of stuff like that. We'll play some COD maybe here and there, but not like a gamer like the traditional sense. So yeah, like I wanted to kind of like think about how do you everyone has a phone, right? Or everyone can play Bejeweled or like phone Candy Crush and like phone games, right? And I wanted to like think of a way to make like the game not as like is challenging, right? I think a lot of times games are so freaking hard that like, or there's so many buttons you have to hit, like. And as you get older, like you don't have time to like master like all this stuff, right? Like I have a kid now, and like I'm busy all the time with work. But I think like some people complained about like Covert or even Eclipse like being too easy, right? Like, and I want to make games that are accessible, that are fun, that are easy for people to play and enjoy, and not struggle through like all this kind of like fighting the game, right? So I guess as I kind of like changing my taste, like I want to build things that like allow it to be accessible for someone that isn't a hardcore quote unquote gamer, right? And then that allows them to be able to play and enjoy themselves.
I think it's neat that you involve her.
Oh yeah, and like so she also helps me out a lot with social media and like PR, marketing kind of stuff.
Okay, that's where we're going.
Yeah. I forgot the other part of the question, and then
okay.
So she helps me out with like a lot of that stuff, and super supportive of all the work that I'm doing and the team's doing. So it's great to have someone like that, and otherwise this stuff is like really hard to do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my hat's off to her too. Then tell her thank you.
I will.
And thanks for making people or things accessible with the game too as well, especially for people like disabled people like myself. Appreciate that.
Oh, sure.
You get tired of the get good statement out there from everybody. I appreciate people that are taking everybody into consideration. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for adding move support to Covert and Eclipse as well. It's always awesome when developers listen to the community, and in my opinion, I think move support just adds a lot more to the immersion in VR, just getting your hands in the game. So thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Like, we're sorry that we didn't get it out for Eclipse right away. We were just trying to get all these different ports done, and it was like, we thought it was going to be like a major issue to support like the IK and the rig and like redo all the anims. And one of our designers was able to figure out like a quick solution that actually I think, you know, came out all right. I wish we had, like, on Covert, we had more time and support, like I was saying earlier, to fix, like, you know, hitting the buttons, like just how the Rec Room like UI works, right? So some of that stuff would have been nice to do, but without like funding or, you know, time, it just becomes difficult to try to like solve all the problems. And yeah, at the end of the day, it's like a disconnect, but I don't think it's that bad. You just kind of get used to it and move on, right? So I think it's more about, like, you know, for us trying to make decisions that allow us to create larger goals of being able to get it out to more people rather than trying to fix every single possible thing for each platform. But, you know, in a perfect world, we could have like gotten some of that stuff fixed. So the Eclipse Move support should be coming out soon as well. So hopefully, you know, some people that were commenting like, "Oh, I'm not going to get it until the Move support's out." So to support indie devs and VR devs, and hopefully you guys can pick it up.
Oh yeah, I mean it's nice to have it there, but it's not the end of the world if it's not there right away, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it was like it was built for
people holding off buying it just for no reason. I don't get. You know, it's still an amazing experience. Like,
yeah, I mean, it's like built for 3DOF controllers originally, like both of the games, so that's why like it's not in there from the start. And then just from an engineering side, that's like a lot of extra work to like go back and refactor it and get like you know, the inverse kinematics, like IK, like working on the arms or hands, and it's like, you know, really easy to do hands, but to do like the arms and all that is where it starts to become like a math nightmare. And I think, you know, like oh my gosh, I'm trying to blank. Echo Arena like has amazing, you know, arms and hands, and but you know, like they had probably a whole team doing that for like 1 year, just to get that stuff to work. So like, yeah, it's just hard when you have like, you know, 5 people, like you got to decide where the hell like they're gonna go and like what are they gonna work on, rather than like trying to deep dive into some of these like larger kind of like systems. So yeah, but I think, yeah, like the, you know, I think it does add like a lot of the immersion, right? And I think that really that's what VR is about. So it's just yeah, I wish we could kind of get more of that stuff fixed, but I think for Eclipse, like it's still like, you know, like the VR-ness isn't like about the interactions, it's about being there, right? Where it's like about this world and like the spectacle and the size of grandeur and like the sense of scale and like the tone and like the feeling of the world. And that, and like to me that's like the most important part of it, right? Not necessarily having to like throw the ball or whatever, right? The artifact. So like if that can be captured in that sense of like the tone and the scale and like what the kind of like what the meaning of the story is, right? And like all that, I think that's like, to me, was the most important part as a, you know, the creator and creative director.
Yeah.
well,
and I think my favorite game is Resident Evil 7, which has no move support, but because of how good the game is and how immersive it is, you don't really notice that, you know, move support's not there. So, I mean, as long as you guys make a good game, I'm happy. But I just really appreciate that you guys went the extra mile and added that in.
Yeah.
Because,
Yeah, we tried to listen, and like luckily, like we had you know, work with smart people that were able to find a quick solution for that. So we're happy that it should be coming out for both, and that's why we delayed Covert like a couple weeks. It's because we wanted to get that in from the start, and then have everyone, you know, be able to experience it like that.
Again, I'd like to thank you for making a game where 2 people can come together, and especially how you did it. Because there's a lot of games that will do like a local co-op, which is great. But for me, I don't always have somebody else here to play with. So the fact that you did something there where people can actually get together, no matter who it is. So I mean, I'm here. He's in Canada. He's in New York area, we got people all over. Like, I can get together with my buddies whenever, wherever, and I love the fact that you did that. Like I said, especially nowadays where people are stuck at home. This is allowing us to be social, allowing us to get together, and absolutely love that you're driving that. You're taking it, you're doing something new and taking it to a whole nother level.
Oh, cool.
I appreciate the fact that you guys do that. And I'd like to open it up to any of you guys if you have any other questions for Jonathan, or if there's anything else that you want to cover.
I just want to say, like, yeah, so thanks, like, Greg, who got the multiplayer working over different regions. We got a couple emails about people wanting to play from, like, Europe to, you know, like the States. And so how the networking was set up was, like, you only could do it per region. So I think for the most part, that should work. There might be a little bugs with some lag because we didn't really test for that case. But, yeah, like, so you can actually play, like, locally on the couch together through local Wi-Fi. Or you can play, like you said, across the country or across, you know, states, and then across regions as well. But that isn't officially supported. That's like you're on your own on that one because, like, we probably can't fix all the bugs that come with that. But yeah, like thank you so much for having me here, and like it's awesome. Like I think this is like the first fan art I've ever gotten with with White Elk. So this is like, you know, crazy to see, like the bubble and like the city and the rocket launcher and the logo and yeah, Mission 4. Yeah, it's really awesome, and I really appreciate you guys building all this stuff, and I sent it to the team and they were like super stoked. So yeah, it's like it's weird to be like in a different poly version of the world that you built. If that makes sense.
Well, like I said, we love what you guys do. So I mean,
okay, cool.
We figured it would be fun for you guys to come in here and interview within your own game. Like,
yeah. No, it's a really interesting idea. I've just never really done an interview in VR, so.
Yeah,
first one.
My favorite part when you guys come in and see the work that these guys did, and like, there's never a time where somebody. I'm not trying to promote here on the show, so take it as that right now if you're watching. But the best part of doing this for these guys is the reaction that we see from them when they come in here, because like I can tell you till I'm blue in the face what we're doing over here, but until you actually come in, it's a different story. Even
I mean,
the shows, it's a different story. It's a different world just being in here. So appreciate you.
Yeah, it's super
really
cool.
Like
all the, I appreciate like all the little details, like on the map with the location and the helicopter. It's just, yeah, it's just super awesome to see, and like the art too. I mean, that's freaking amazing. I can't believe like the level of detail you can get with the tools. So it's super cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think Knock has a question for you. I have one more thing that I forgot to cover with you before. And do you have any DLC plans, or is there any games that you guys coming out for the future that you might be able to speak about with us right now?
Make another room?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we don't have any plans right now for DLC for Covert. I mean, like hopefully it sells enough that we can, you know, maybe be able to do that at one point in time. And right now, yeah, we don't have anything to really announce. We're working on some new stuff, but yeah, I can't talk about it yet.
Oh, totally understandable.
Another Mission Impossible.
That just builds anticipation for us of the next thing that's coming, so there's no problem with that.
Okay, cool. Cool.
And I think Knock had a question, and if anybody else has to, please feel free.
Sure.
Yeah, I just have a question about the logo behind you, Covert. I noticed that there was a line going through the C, the O, and the V, and part of the E. Is the middle of the E supposed to like represent like a bullet going through? Because I'm doing graphic design, so it kind of like see little things like that. Of, like,
yeah. Actually, that was the entire idea that
okay. That's what I thought.
our graphics designer Andrew Hamilton
really
had.
Cool.
And so, yeah, I never, you know, like really thought about logos, you know, because I was just like a game designer, so like trying to like figure out what those kind of like root meanings are and like those hidden messages, kind of like in like simplicity. is like I think one of the challenging things and the beautiful thing about making logos. And that like I never really even thought about like some of the simplicity of things like that, or like like the Amazon logo looks like it's like a smiling when it says like A to Z, and like there's all these like little subtle things that you find in like really great logos. So yeah, but I'm stoked how it came out, and I thought it looks like really cool. And then and the logo on Eclipse too was done by Brandon, who works over at Respawn now on Titanfall. And that one came out really cool, like super custom font and like how it all kind of got laid out. So yeah, it's cool.
Nice magical feel to that one too as well. I like that, especially the lettering it chose on there. It was something unique, right? There was an actual font they chose that looked like it was made.
Yeah, no, it was like custom built in like Illustrator. So we didn't have the ability to like make a whole text thing out of it. And then the idea I had was I was trying to get it to like circle the moon with the sea, and then kind of like fit in that kind of like iconography for the like the box and all that kind of stuff.
Real quick, White Elk, where did that come from? Your brand?
Oh, yeah, I was like trying to think of like company names or whatever. So I didn't want to do just like Pixel Bros or like kind of like the traditional super gamey stuff. So I was just trying to figure out like what kind of had some meaning to me. So for a while I had these weird like animal dreams. I dream a lot of like weird stuff. And I just had this weird animal dream with this like giant white elk that came over to me and just really stuck with me. I mean, this is like probably like 15 years ago or something.
And those dreams.
Oh yeah. Like I don't know if you ever have dreams like that like stick and you can still like recall them. So yeah, like I just had this dream of this massive white elk, and it like came over to me and was like sniffing me or something weird. And it was just like like it must have been like out of Princess Mononoke, like my subconscious. And so it was just really weird, and so I thought it was kind of cool, and kind of like learning more about logos and names, finding something that's kind of like iconic. So like our logo just has like the antlers, just kind of keeping it simple, and and people seem to remember it, and like it kind of creates like an image in your head.
It does.
So yeah,
it does. Thank you for answering that.
Yeah,
I was curious, and I know that sometimes people always wonder where did you get the name brand? How did you do it?
Yeah. I read the Shoe Dog book about like Nike, and it was called like Blue Ribbon Shoes before that, and then they like had they got in like some legal battle or whatever, and they had to like switch it out. So they basically chose like they hired some art student from college for like $35 to build the swoosh, right? And then like they just randomly chose the term Nike because it was like one of the Greek gods for like running or winning, or I forget what it was. So yeah, it's just it's funny just and like the guy Phil Knight, who was the CEO, didn't even really like the name, but one of the other people there like thought it was the best one, so he's just like had to make a decision and they just rolled with it. So it's weird, yeah, like where names come from and things like that, and like you think about like successful products like Nike, one of the biggest brands in the world, is like a $35 logo.
Right.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know that history. That's pretty interesting. And Jonathan, thank you again for spending your time here with us today. Really appreciate it. I know it's tough. You guys are always busy working, and thanks for spending at least part of your time on the weekend here with us and letting the community get to know you a little better. Appreciate that.
Thank you so much for having us, and again, like all the artists that built this world and the scripting of it. It's just super cool to see. So yeah, I really appreciate you all taking the time as well to put this together for us, and really happy to hear that everyone enjoyed Covert and had a good time playing, and we were able to make our goal of creating a social VR game. And follow us on our social media channels, White Elk Studio on Twitter and or on Facebook, or whiteelkstudios.com, and then it's the thecovertgame.com. where you can get all the links to the different stores and download the companion apps for free and all that. So yeah, thank you.
Oh, thank you. And keep tuned to everybody. We're going to have another episode of the PSVR Chat Show coming soon. And just want to thank you for watching. Say goodbye to everybody out there. Have a great day.
Bye.
We'll see you soon.
Bye.